Hello everybody! It's another Thursday and another live. So today I am joined by our guest Amanda Sartor. So I will just tag her so I can grab her in. So bear with me while I'm doing that. Oh, I think that worked. Hi Jason. Let me just check if I did that right. Hello, Danielle. Hi, Jacinta. Oh, yes, Amanda, I did it. Approved. Now, oh, hello.
Hello, how are you? Sorry, I'm always a little bit dinosaur with the Facebook Live.
No, you did great. It's working perfectly. Jason, Jacinta, Danielle, let us know if it's not working, but it looks like it's all working at my end. So thank you for making time to join us.
Oh, thanks so much for inviting me. It's really exciting to be part of the conversation, and I feel like I need to get on top of Facebook Live so I can start using the channel.
It's definitely like a new kind of technology. I don't know if you saw the first few, but I have had my 1 week it didn't work, and then I tried to get Zinta on and we couldn't work it out. So anyway, we're here now. And before we jump into it, I just want to say to everyone watching, whether you're watching live with us now or in the recording after, a huge welcome to all of our new members. The group has been blowing my mind this week. We've had a heap of new people. Everyone's been so collaborative and supportive and posting really thought-provoking and helpful posts and answers. So I'm just, totally loving what the power of getting like-minded people together can do. It's I'm feeling like we've got a really cool thing going on. So thank you to everybody who is contributing to that. And there's one more thing, sort of tied in with philanthropy. Thank you to everybody who supported the Testamentary Trust Starter Pack flash sale. So I made the donation to the Centre for Women & Co. today in honour of May month, which is all about preventing domestic violence, and the Centre for Women & Co. is a wonderful organisation. Amanda's been involved with them as well. And the Her Platform launch, where they're all about providing immediate crisis support resources to women in need of domestic violence, and also just generally in the community. They have free counselling, lots of wellbeing and health seminars, and also programs where they help women get back into the workforce. So it's all for disadvantaged women to sort of get back on their feet. So thank you to everybody for supporting that.
That's really
cool. So that's enough of the housekeeping over. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us. Today's all about the power of philanthropy. Can we start with you telling us all, how did you even get into this space?
It's a good question. So I'm actually a financial planner. When I think I was in Melbourne and I moved up here almost 5 years ago, and I guess I took a bit of a step back because I had to change jobs, and I'm like, look, I love a lot about financial planning, particularly the relationship side, but I kept getting pulled to this idea about wanting to do something different, and this whole idea around doing more in the community and doing some work which supports a non-for-profit sector kept kind of popping up. So I actually engaged a life coach and more formally kind of went through my values and kind of purpose and things like that, which was really good. I think we sometimes underrate how good it is having a life or career coach and someone to push you a bit more. But I guess what I did first is I really didn't know what it meant. So I actually jumped in and did this fundraising certificate, which was like a 6-day immersive course in the charity sector. I mean, I'd done some volunteer work in the past and I'd been quite active in that space, but I just had no concept or idea around what it is to actually work in the non-for-profit sector. So it was a really big eye-opener to me to kind of understand and learn more from professional fundraisers and executives of charities around all the barriers that they face trying to get the funding they need for all the needed support and resources and services that they do. And also just, for me, I was just so drawn to how passionate and kind these people are and how driven they are by kind of their purpose and not necessarily around the money. And I guess I found that really refreshing coming from the financial services industry where, you know, naturally there's a very competitive, ruthless kind of self-driven meaning a lot that drives through a lot of the industry, or there's a lot of misconception around that. And it was just amazing to see in such a competitive sector how much they were willing to collaborate and how strong they were driven by purpose. So I kind of really wanted to be like, how can I help build up awareness and support for this sector more broadly and increase this idea around giving. And I got a lot of encouragement and pushback from the charities and also some subsequent mentors who work in the foundation philanthropic sector, which I didn't know much about at the time, around, you know, we need more advocates and people to support private individuals, private families and private businesses to be able to give back and to make a bit of a better experience for them and for them to understand that there are ways that you can build up a legacy or give back in more strategic ways. And so that really kind of started my journey. And you know, I really have kind of morphed my own roles and opportunities. I've been very lucky to have started out at a multifamily office purely in philanthropy and supporting private clients and businesses to set up their own charitable fund and legacy and have that as a family or business activity. And now subsequently I've joined Elston, which is the financial services firm, head office in Brisbane, but offices all on the eastern coast to really support advisors and drive some more value for clients around this idea around giving back and setting up your own philanthropic legacy.
Well, your passion for the industry totally shines through, Amanda. And I can say, having been through my own third life crisis, it's really like, it's so cool to hear other people who have gone, hold on, what am I doing? Like, let's just reassess, like center on my values and goals. And, you know, I can see like the benefits of having done that exercise just by your enthusiasm and energy for the industry. So I love it. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Elston? So Elston Private is a financial advisory or financial planning firm, right?
Yeah, so Elston, so we're like a financial services firm. We have asset management, private wealth, and then I, along with a couple of people, I have a specialised role in philanthropic services for clients.
Okay, and so how do you work with, or how can you help the people who would be watching this video? So we've got a mix of lawyers, financial advisors and accountants.
So I guess that they're primarily the groups of advisors and professional advisors that I work with. And I guess what I work a lot is in I guess educating and helping each advisor look at, is there ways that I can add value to my clients or a select group of my clients who may be interested in giving or maybe interested in creating a legacy. And there's some, I guess, some really key catalysts or opportunities for where this could be really valuable and relevant for clients. And I guess why Elston invested in this service, essentially, it was really driven by some of our high net worth clients and their demand around wanting to create a more effective structure for their giving and wanting to allocate more wealth of their family wealth to do this. And what I always like to refer to the Maslow hierarchy of needs in terms of like that visual structure, but I guess from a financial planning accounting point of view, what we're kind of finding is, you know, naturally with clients we help them build wealth, then they get to a point where they've protect their wealth and they've got enough to support themselves when they retire. And then they get to a point where they look at their family and having more wealth than they need and thinking about how they're supporting their children or their extended family that's important for them. And then I guess a lot of our clients either get to a point where they don't have children or they may, you know, particularly they may sell a business or be quite successful or receive an inheritance. And they get to a point where they kind of see, oh, I've got more money than I'm ever going to spend, or I've got a lot more money than I expected to have, and I'm actually starting to get a little bit concerned around how am I going to manage my kids to take on this money and be a good steward for this money and not be overwhelmed. Or really, you know, simply it's a tax planning conversation. If there's been a huge tax event in a particular year Charitable giving is obviously tax effective in that any money you put into a structure is a tax deduction. And it can be one of those strategies that's having in an overall strategy with a client around reducing, their tax bill effectively. So that, I guess, we kind of get questions from clients around, I don't have children, and when we're talking in the estate planning conversation, we don't have children or we don't have clear beneficiaries. It's projected we're going to have a lot of wealth when we die. So what's the conversation around that, and what does it mean to give while you live versus giving your will? And how can you be more involved in that if you either already are or you haven't really thought about it but interested in it? Versus, I have always given through my business or given through support through the community. Now I've sold my business, and now, I don't have that connection with the community, or I want to keep that connection with those organisations I'm part of because it's been a strong part of my life and a strong part of what I've done. So they may, in a tax effective way, allocate a bit of their wealth to setting up their own giving structure, or they can actually bring the kids along, teach them about why they set it up and the value to them around giving back and that giving tradition. And then really kind of, it's I guess in that sense, it's a really formal opportunity for them to say to my kids, giving to others is really important to us. We've started with nothing. We built this up. We would love you to come along on the journey with us, and we would love to get your feedback on who you'd like to support to others and not about ourselves. And then kind of them, a lot of our clients let their, I guess when the kids get to a certain age, sometimes it's the late teens, sometimes it's the 30s, let them actually sit on the board of the foundation only and start with getting that governance and trustee and investment fiduciary education and awareness around the important aspects of managing money on behalf of other people, and kind of then instilling that value to then hopefully give them a good perspective and a good skill set to then take on more of the family business or family trust, or potentially if there's other assets. So it's kind of using different capacities for different clients, but they're some of the key catalysts or questions that come up or opportunities that come up with clients where philanthropy's been really effective and really been a value add for clients.
I mean, as you're walking through all of those examples, Amanda, I mean, they're just lots of different kind of opportunities to talk about philanthropy just popping into my mind, particularly as an estate planning lawyer, but also for the other financial advisors or accountants on the call. And to me, having that philanthropy discussion is a natural fit with estate planning, because it should be about, well, what's your legacy, and tell us about your family, and what do you want to leave for your family. And so philanthropy really does go hand in hand. What are some of the options that if a client says, actually, yeah, I do want to start looking at this, like what are some of the options that they can do to start getting involved?
And that's really the particular interest for most lawyers and advisors is, how can they actually facilitate this? And we really talk about 3 structures, and delighted to, if it's of interest for anyone that's part of the conversation now or joins in the recording. If they want a copy, we've got a good, I guess, reference sheet that we can provide, which puts these options in a bit of a table for you to talk to and also to refer to if you're having a conversation with clients. So please let me know if that works, if you want that, sorry. But essentially we have a conversation with clients in 3 options. So the first ones, I guess, are what we call your giving structures while you're alive. And they're a sub-fund that you can set up within a public ancillary fund. So we call it a charitable sub-fund. And we liken that to like a retail super fund. So, you have an account within an existing structure, and you have naming rights and beneficial ownership over that account. But legally it's managed by the trustee. Your money's pooled together with other sub-fund holders and invested together. And that's much cheaper and more accessible for people who have lower balances. So that charitable sub-fund is the clients who want to give, still get a tax deduction for what they give, but maybe want to create that perpetual giving fund for their family or themselves that starts at around $30,000 to $50,000. So they make an initial donation. That capital is then invested on their behalf. So the whole point of the structure is you make a donation, you then invest the money into investments, and then you give the income of that investment to charities over time. So it really, I guess, provides this perpetual giving vehicle, because you can invest the money, the capital hopefully will grow, and you have to give at least 4% of your assets each year. And you can give more, but it's that opportunity to invest that donation, have more control over how the money is then given to charities over the longer term. And that, that's no setup cost to set up. It's usually you pay around 1% to the trustee to manage everything on your behalf. So the investments, the compliance, facilitating the donations to your elected charities and so forth. And they're generally run through like trustee companies, or a company called Australian Philanthropic Services as a public fund. And that's a really good starting point and works really well for, retirees who have excess cash flow, or maybe if you've got a client who's got no beneficiaries and may have money when they pass but don't necessarily have heaps of capital available now, they may start with setting up one of those vehicles while they're alive and get enjoyment out of it, get some tax deductions, but then not have substantial wealth initially or in their lifetime that they can put towards that. Also, high income earners, professional services partners, usually give $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, so they can still give to those charities they want to, or they can actually start building up their own charitable fund that becomes a family foundation or so forth. The next option is really, it's called a private ancillary fund, which we are likened to your self-managed super fund. So it's, if you're the trustees of a discretionary trust, you donate the money in again, and that money is invested. Obviously, any money is donated in is a tax deduction, but it's an irrevocable gift, so you can't access that money again. So you do need to feel comfortable that you've got wealth available to put aside in one of these vehicles. And I guess like any client who enjoys a family trust or a self-managed super fund, it's around having more control over, that investment or that donation or that investment, more control over how you're donating that to charity. You yourself want to be the board, you want to have maybe more of your family members involved, you want to actually have ability to bring your children on or family members to be part of that. And there's opportunity to also use the investments within that to invest into impact, invest in opportunities or social investments. So clients or entrepreneurs particularly, so more business owners, our clients who have been business owners or are very much like that private ancillary fund, but it is more costly. So, it costs about $4,500 to set them up and register them. So we really recommend, like, that's really for your ultra high net worth clients who, can afford to give away or want to create that legacy for around $500,000 at least. And having that structure, because there are, ongoing costs in terms of audit, financial statements. And we provide, I guess, a comprehensive service for clients as trustees to do that as well. But it really depends on the level of support that they want. And then we talk about, I guess, from an estate planning perspective is, the option that comes up more often is around, setting up a charitable testamentary trust in your will. And that could be, some clients start with want to bequest, some clients like the idea of a scholarship trust or this idea around having a charitable trust. And, that's really important for a lot of clients who want to create a legacy, don't have beneficiaries, or really value the idea of having that charitable giving element in their will or in their estate. And that, I don't necessarily facilitate those structures or work with that. That's very much where I work with the estate planner. But I guess the value the reason I have those conversations with clients is it's really valuable for them to know from a grant making perspective, or who's going to manage that trust when they pass, what control do they want over that? How much direction do they want to where the money goes? Who manages that on their behalf? How much detail they want around that? And understanding the restrictions around, if you put your own trust together, if you're too prescriptive in who the money goes to, that can actually cause issues later down the track. And it's just relaying some stories around, we know a couple of clients who've been so prescriptive in what charities they want the money to go to, that the trustees have actually not been able to do anything with the money because the landscape's changed. And they themselves have actually become really frustrated with the process and don't actually enjoy it. And that's really important from a client point of view to think about, what's the purpose of this if I'm setting up this legacy. And so, I guess from a real value add point of view as well is it's actually extending that conversation. So if you're an estate plan and we have clients that may want to look at charitable trust, is it's actually taking that conversation back and going, well, what's the purpose of that? And why do you want to do it in your will? And actually, are you quite philanthropic at the moment? Do you give? Is that an opportunity for you to set something up now, get some tax deductions, create an asset that's actually outside of the estate, so there's no, potentially estate litigation issues, and then you can always populate that with more money through your will. And so, because more and more of our clients that I talk, or particularly estate planners I talk to, are talking with clients who still have children that want to set up these charitable legacies, that risk of estate litigation is actually can be quite high. So we really want them to understand, I guess, other ways that a client can structure it and understand, I guess, their motivations and how that can actually be facilitated. So that's, you know, really that important piece, you know, in terms of broadening those conversations and options.
Wow, a lot to think about there. And I really like the idea of, you know, there's sort of, you don't have to go straight for a path. You can, there's kind of like another option that is much more cost effective to ease into that. We should potentially, I mean, even for me, like I know 2 clients that don't have kids who one is much more high net wealth and the other one is pretty high net wealth. And it's very remiss of me because we didn't even talk about charitable goals when we're talking about where does that go. And you know, even I think we can add a huge amount of value just by starting the conversation and getting them thinking about it as part of, yeah, just as part of that legacy, I guess, that they want to leave. And
yeah, and it's great that you brought that up, Tara, because we actually did the breakfast actually that you came to a few weeks ago, and there were a couple of other estate planning lawyers, and we actually did a follow-up presentation with their full firm. And the most exciting thing that one of the lawyers said to me, she's like, after your lunch, what I did is into our question sheet that we send to clients, we actually put a question in there around, do you want to leave a charitable legacy or give back to certain charities? And we've made it part of our process now. And I think that's the most important thing is, you know, are we asking questions? Because I think it's not that clients, you know, clients may be fully committed to giving just to their family, but if we don't ask and we don't create opportunities, a lot of them just don't think about it, or they don't know, or it's just too hard. So it's just really around making it easy for them and prompting those conversations and seeing if there is interest and value, and then being able to jump on that when they have interest in it.
Yeah, I love the idea of getting it built into the systems, and I've got it in my agenda now as well for bringing up. So I'm trying, you know, not to look at. Now, I've got a few more questions for Amanda, but for everyone who's watching, please feel free to send through your questions too while we have her here. And we've got a big yes for getting the sheet of the options. So if you can send that to me, and I will circulate it to the group. So whenever a client's like, oh, I want to set up a charitable trust in my will, I always kind of just go, oh, like, this could be messy. So what do you see people doing, or what do you prefer to see people doing when they want to set up a charitable trust in their will? Like, would you have the terms of the charitable trust in the will, or would you sort of leave directions to gift it to like the executors and ask them to set up or put the money into a charity, either an existing one, or set up a path or something that pursues particular objectives?
So I guess it really depends. From my point of view, depending on the motivation to set it up, it's actually much easier if they do have the capacity and they actually want to get involved in the giving, to have that sub fund or that private ancillary fund set up while they're alive, and then to redirect the money into the already existing structure. And the reason for that is because the terms of the objects of those structures are very broad, and it allows the trustees to have discretion. And then I would say, you know, the best value, like you would with an estate plan, sometimes if you put too much detail in an estate plan and you make it legally binding, you know, that can cause issues. But if you know, really morally want to explain things to a client or the reasons why you're doing things, you know, we help clients actually draft up, you know, like essentially like a mission statement, equivalent to your letter of wishes for that charitable foundation, to really explain the motivations for setting up, what they like to see happen, and that being that morally persuading document for the trustees, as opposed to legally putting everything in a trustee. I mean, some clients prefer just to have that actual trustee get set up in their will, and that's fine to draft it through the will. But I guess there's 2 areas that I kind of caution. Is one is, the conversation around really helping clients understand the dangers about being too prescriptive in their objects and the grant making is really important. And the more we can encourage them to keep that broader and have that accompanying document is really critical, because I've seen a lot of situations that trust has just not been able to do what it intended to do later on. and the trustees not be able to do what actually the overall objectives or purpose of because of the wording. And the other thing I just caution about, if the client's getting quite complicated in that charitable trust, is, there are, I guess the non-for-profit sector is quite different to the estate sector. And there is a bit of a danger to, I guess, try and apply kind of our expertise into an area that, a lot of people don't have experience on. So, depending on obviously your firm and so forth, but, I know a few specialist lawyers who work in the non-for-profit sector and in the charitable trust sector, and sometimes it's around having them help draft that or collaborate with them, in a way where they maybe do the deed for that charitable trust that then you insert into the will. And it's just around, because there's just so many nuances around that if it's not drafted appropriately and we haven't, in terms of apply the charitable purposes and the income and the capital appropriately, that charitable trust may actually not get endorsed as a charity after the probate goes through. So then they've lost all this opportunity around having that as a income tax exempt vehicle, which is quite valuable for these charitable trusts. So there's kind of, I guess, elements around the charitable trust space, which is, a lot of people hesitate to get in because it is quite nuanced and so forth. So, I guess I would just throw out those kind of pieces of advice and, I guess where your comfort level is around how much you want to do and how much you're willing to potentially outsource to somebody else. And that's really kind of conversation that I can have, with advisors if they come across this situation, or planners, estate planners.
So Amanda, even though you're part of the Elston private group, if there are financial advisors or accountants who have got clients going, okay, let's do something with philanthropy, and maybe they don't have the direct experience themselves, can you just come in with an isolated scope for something to help with like a project like that?
Yeah, actually, and that's what I am doing. So because it is such a bespoke area, I guess in my previous role I was quite independent and worked in a philanthropic service capacity only. So that was really important when I joined Elston, is that I had the same capacity to do that. So it's quite confusing, but I essentially work under my own trading business as a consulting service within Elston. So, obviously for Elston private wealth clients is they get the benefit of having me, right there and accessible, but I'm actually provide a lot of support to other external financial planners and accountants and lawyers to their clients. And I come in from that consulting basis. So I charge, it's all fee for service, everything's quoted in advance. And we have standard packages, but sometimes we might need to tailor that for a client. And it's very much around, we're here to come in and work purely with you and your client in this capacity. Whatever that is, it could be setting up a path, it could be the grant making side, it could be strategies to engage the family, using philanthropy to kind of transfer those values to next generation. It could be a combination and coming in and our remit being this. And it's really very much around working in the advisor and client relationship to support them in that capacity, and making sure that obviously that data is all confidential and that client's advisor has access to it only is really important what we do. And it's just been from demand is that there's so few specialists in Australia that do this. So we really want to make sure that advisors and estate planners and accountants have access to someone that can come in and I guess really add that value to their client relationship with clients.
So good to know that that service is available to, to get the support. And you can work nationally. Is there any sort of state-by-state issues?
Not really. The main things are just there's some little, like obviously each PAF is applied to its own trust law in that state, but that's not a huge deal. That's really just around, maybe investing the PAF money and just thinking about, the trustee laws there. But really the PAF guidelines are national. The way it's executed is quite national. If they set a PAF up, I know New South Wales charge an unreasonable stamp duty fee and other states don't. That's pretty much the main one. But I guess I work nationwide, but mainly along, I guess, the East Coast. So I'm regularly in New South Wales, AZT, Melbourne, as well as Queensland. So, definitely available in those states. Obviously happy to look at SA and WA, but it's probably, I don't go there regularly now. So, but definitely, I think like from your point, technology is here as well. So that's definitely something we can do with clients and advisors as well.
And I mean, as I see it, I mean, from a lawyer point of view, it's a no-brainer. But even if you are an accountant or a financial advisor, I mean, to me, if you've got clients who are interested in some type of philanthropy, that enabling them to get that started, and because I mean, even where like I'm sort of going, oh, it's a bit complicated, and I think from a client point of view, they're just like, it's so easy to throw it in the too hard basket. So as an advisor, having this conversation, like helping the clients get clear on their legacy, how they want to be able to give back, and then helping them implement that, it's just no-brainer from my perspective about adding to your client value proposition and really, you know, entrenching yourself as a trusted advisor. So being able to tap into someone's expertise like Amanda's to be able to get that done for them, you know, sort of come in for on a mission and then set and forget. Like, to me, that just makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think from your point of view, as our relationship with clients broaden and we want to be able to add more value to them, and also the wider family, is obviously it's not for everyone. Everyone doesn't have the interest or the passions or the capacity. But for those clients that do, if we're not the ones first to bring up the topic and to actually engage in those authentic conversations that we're genuinely interested about this, because simply like most people do actually give in some capacity, they may volunteer on a non-for-profit board. You know, they may just give to the local school. But actually, it's not it's not uncommon to give. And I think we have this perception that, oh, if we, you know, everyone's got to be a billionaire and flat is an American thing. But it's the way you bring up the conversation. And it's really around those value adds around the legacy estate planning, tax planning strategies, helping educate their kids around the family wealth, and using it in those strategies that really complements your existing role already. So, you know, that's where you know, I see value, and the more the clients get from it, the more supportive they are, the more they think about how they give, the more they enjoy it, and the more they get from it as well, and they see there's a really big part of their life, and I think that just adds heaps more value over time as well.
So Amanda, you had sent through the video which we linked to the post about this live about Belinda and why the conversation with her about why she sort of started getting into it. Another inspiring story that I've heard you talk about is the Helen McPherson Smith Trust. Did I get her name right?
Good work.
Can you tell us about that as an example, just to sort of get the inspirational juices flowing before we finish up?
No problem. And it's funny because I'm glad you brought it up, because I always start with it when I do seminars and presentations with clients, and it's really around setting the scene. I guess we see, you know, like we all love the idea around compounding, and it's really this idea around how powerful a philanthropic legacy can be. And Helen McPherson Smith, she died in 1951, and she was, you know, she inherited quite a bit of money from her family, but she was a widow here in Australia. So when she died in 1951, she decided to bequest her full estate, which was £275,000, which is 550,000 Australian dollars, which is quite a lot of money in 1951. But she decided to put it all into a charitable trust. She had no beneficiaries, no family members, which was for social justice in Victoria. And that trust, in literally under 70 years, has actually grown to be worth $116 million today. And I guess from my point of view is beyond that, it's actually also granted $122 million to charities in Victoria in 69 years. And it's just this phenomenal growth story around, she had the structure in place, she had great trustees who invested the money. From a financial planning point of view, this is a great story from that point, because actually the majority of the trust was actually invested in Australian shares and growth assets. And you know, they had the capacity for it to just grow. And it's just, in terms of impact, the amount it's been able to do in Victoria, how her legacy is lived on, and she's such a well-known figure in the philanthropic sector because of her bequest initially. And no one would have known her in 70 years if she hadn't done this, because she had no descendants or anything like that. So it's just such a powerful story, and I'm happy to share it. But honestly, you can go to their website and read more about it. It's just remarkable. But you know, that's really the powerful story that we love to share with clients. And I'd encourage everyone, it's only 11 minutes to listen to the podcast that we did with Belinda that you just mentioned, Tara. And that's more from her personal motivations around how important the foundation was for her to get her daughter involved. And you know, that whole idea around encouraging positivity and giving back from wealth, as opposed to, I guess, potentially build in a complacent or entitlement kind of mentality. So, you know, and she just has so much fun. Like in the end, it's actually just a really, really enjoyable thing that she loves to do. And that's what every client says in the end. It's just so much fun. They just love it. And that's what it's about, helping them have fun.
Wow, I've got actually goosebumps from that story about Helen, because you're so right. No one would have known. Like, she just would have disappeared into the history books, and now it just got like so much good has come from that decision to set up the charity. So yeah, really, I think that's a really powerful story for us to use with our clients. So thank you for sharing that.
That's all right. And yeah, more than happy. If anyone, and I guess from that point about awareness, where I've actually got a blog coming out in the next couple of weeks from some accountants and lawyers who want to send it out to clients. But in terms of, I guess, provoking client thoughts or other people you know, if you want some information, or you want to do a client seminar or do something in your office, just let me know. Happy to, delighted to try and find a way to share some of this content and these stories. And we always try and bring along, when we can, a really amazing person who's done something in the not-for-profit sector, and them to share their personal stories, because for me it's just about showcasing the amazing work being done. And it just creates such an amazing opportunity and thought-provoking session for clients and for our other, you know, professional partners and so forth. So yeah, if that's of interest, just contact, I think Tara probably share my details, or just contact by Tara, whatever works. But yeah, you know, that's some of the way it's just creating that awareness and sharing some of those stories is really, you know, will really resonate with clients. So that's really sometimes where it comes from.
Oh, thank you so much, Amanda. So we're over our half hour. I get some really valuable insights into that, and I think everyone will put this up so people can watch it even if they couldn't make us live. And I really think it's just a good idea for everyone watching to just start thinking about how you can build this into your processes, and which of your clients could get some value, or even, you know, they may not be there yet, but this could be important to them. And how do we, especially as the in the financial guys, how do you get them to the point where they can start actually giving back in a charitable way? So much food for thought. I'll link your details in the video, the replay, and we'll put the sheet in there as well with the information about the options. And people will be able to get in touch with you if they want to chat further. So thank you so much again, Amanda.
Thanks for having me, and yeah, delighted to have a chat. And yeah, look forward to helping anyone that has any interest in it in the future. Thanks again.
Well, bye.